Video and photo backlogs can leave you overwhelmed, exhausted, and burnt out. We've been there, and our fears of outsourcing stopped us in the past. Can you find an editor as invested in your brand as you are? Will other photographers and filmmakers we network with look down on us for not editing everything on our own? That fear of outsourcing can be detrimental to your career. That's why we love our partnership with Weditor. Their attention to details with not only our work, but also their care for their clients through all steps of the outsourcing process lets us fully step back from editing and focus on what we love, knowing our work is receiving the attention it needs. More than just editing, Weditor is passionate about demystifying the outsourcing market. Follow Weditor on Instagram at we_r_Weditor for free educational tips, tools, and resources to guide you through the insanity of today's editing market. For an even deeper dive, follow Weditor's blog at weditor.com/outsourcing.
Welcome to the We Got You podcast, a network curated for wedding photographers and filmmakers that dives deep into the strategies and tactics to transitioning a side hustle in the wedding industry into a full-time, thriving career. We're your hosts, luxury wedding filmmaker Emma K. Films and luxury destination wedding photographer Hannah Brook Photography. It wasn't too long ago that we picked up our cameras for the first time, having absolutely no idea where it would lead us. Years later, we're traveling the globe for beautiful destination weddings, built our dream lifestyles, and run multi-six-figure careers. It didn't happen overnight and it wasn't easy, but it is attainable and so worth it. And we're ready to teach you our strategies. Covering a variety of topics from both our firsthand experiences and reputable guest speakers' insights crucial for business growth, we're exploring the art of marketing within your niche, discussing effective ways to attract and retain clients, leverage social media, and build a strong online presence, and so much more. We're not shying away from talking through the challenges of the wedding industry and offering realistic solutions to navigate them successfully. We emphasize the importance of networking, establishing meaningful relationships with clients, and continuously honing one's craft to stand out in a competitive market. This is the We Got You podcast.
Hello. Welcome to another episode on the We Got You podcast. We are so grateful that you guys are here tuning in to another episode. And honestly, this one we are super excited about because we know that in this industry, sometimes it feels like you have to serve one specific audience, niche down. When we start our businesses, we keep hearing, try everything in the niche down. Like that is such an important, I feel like, topic among wedding creatives of you have to pick weddings or elopements or, couples or maternity and births. Like you have to pick something specific. So we wanted to jump on this episode today and really share with you guys that to run a successful business, you don't actually have to pick just one. And so this week we are actually going to dive into the importance of working with multiple niches. And we have an incredible guest speaker, our really good friend, Annalie from Annalie Photo. How are you doing today, Annalie?
I'm good. Nervous, but good. Thank you guys for having me on here.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you. And honestly, we should have had you on here a long time ago. So just so grateful that you're joining us in 2024. And honestly, before we dive into today's episode, just for people who are listening who might not follow you yet or who don't know you yet, we would love for you just to kind of share with us your journey of becoming a photographer, of your business and your growth and everything to where you are now.
Okay, so where do I begin? It's been like 7 years now in this business, so it's been a long time. But I think my photography career started back in probably 2014 when I had a friend who was always taking photos. And I always admired her work and never thought that this could be a career, more like a hobby in a sense, because back then it was very like to the book with school. You be a doctor, you be a lawyer, be a teacher, never an art degree because you don't make money, right? In a sense. And especially coming from an Asian American in the first generation, my mom was like, you have to be a doctor. There's nothing else. And following that path, I went to school trying to be a doctor. But I was never happy. It was more so just trying to make my mom happy. Like her American dream was for me to be a doctor. But I was never happy. And so I guess, here we go. So I guess my friend, she kind of taught me like how to use the camera. And I was like, oh, this is super cool. And I would just follow her along to all her shoots and just kind of watch her from far away just to see how she was with her friends and her clients. But then that was it. The photography ended there for me. Like I never looked back at the camera, never did anything. And then high school, senior year through college, I was actually just working in a Japanese and Korean makeup and skincare boutique. That was my thing. And I was doing waitressing jobs at night. So I had like two jobs while still being in school, not in the photography world at all. And then fast forward to like 3 years later, like 2016, when all my friends were getting engaged and families were forming, I was getting reached out. It was like, hey, do you want to take our couple portraits? And I was like, sure, why not? Because I was the only one that had a fancy camera. And it was not even that fancy. It was a Canon T6i, like a crop frame camera, you know? And that was it. So I was like, sure, why not? So I took those photos and I was like, this was really fun. I enjoy doing this more than going to school. Like, I enjoy doing this. So then 2016 was when I had my first official wedding. And I've never had any weddings before, never really had mentorship or shadow anyone. And after that wedding, I was like, I can actually see myself doing this. I really enjoy doing this, but I need to know more. So this was when I was reaching out on going on Instagram and looking for local photographers that I feel like I related to and I love their work. And that was when I found my friend Jenny Choke. So I emailed her and I was like, I've never talked to her before. I don't really know who she is. All I know is I love her work and we had a bunch of mutual friends. So I was like, I'm going to email her. If she says no, it's okay. I'll move on. But if she says yes, amazing. So I emailed her just asking if she would ever need an assistant or someone to like help her and shadow her and hold her gear. She emailed me back like 2 days later and was like, hey, I have a music video shoot that's happening this weekend that I'm doing stills for. Do you want to come hold my lights? And I was like, of course, I will hold your light all day, every day. Absolutely. So that was my first time meeting her. And it just felt so organic and natural. And she's a vibe, still is a vibe. But after that music video still, she asked me, I actually have a wedding tomorrow. Did you want to come assist me? And I was like, no way, of course. And mind you, I only have a Canon T6i, like a crop frame. And I was like, yes, please. Like, I'll go. And this was like the biggest learning lesson for me was on that wedding day ceremony, getting ready. Everything was going smooth until reception hit. Okay. And this was when my camera died. And being a noob that I was, I only had one battery. Okay. And I didn't bring a charger. So it's like, how do you charge how do you charge a camera and like shoot with it when it's dead? So then Jenny, being so sweet, she was like, you can shoot on my second body, is fine. And I was like, okay, sure. And then, an hour went by and she's like, actually, you can just go home and I'll shoot the rest myself. And I was like, oh dear, this is the end of it. I'm never doing weddings again. Like, she was the OG back then, right? In the wedding field. And I was just like, okay, I'm done. This is a bad look. She's never going to hire me back to assist her. But, we talk about it now and we laugh. But she was like, yeah, I was really mad at you then because, like, how could you not bring a charger and batteries for your camera? But it was a learning lesson and you're great. And she still took me back. And that was when I really, like, dived into wedding world and, like, shot couples. And 2016 was the official year for my business that I was like, okay, I'm going to launch this thing and just keep taking photos. So yeah, that was it for that part. And now 2024, my photography has been going on for 7 years now. And a lot of my clients are through word of mouth or referrals. So the first 2 years of my business was a lot of word of mouth referral and just getting my name out there. And I was very new to Instagram, Google. So I didn't really do much with social media, but I think my business thrived during those 2 years was because of my friends and like people just speaking about me. And now
I
we're
think
here.
it's so cool just hearing your journey, like from the very beginning. Like, obviously, I think it's really cool that you just kind of touched on like your family and like what was traditionally accepted and really like breaking the barrier of being like, no, like I am going to do something different. And like maybe when you don't have everyone in your corner, like it is really, really terrifying. And I think like it goes for like so many of us entrepreneurs, right? Like at first, like the older generation, like isn't super familiar with entrepreneurship and just like following, you know,
Yes.
your passion for your art. And I think it's cool how you just kind of took that and you're like, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going to full send it. And you went for it. And like, it's been so insane seeing you over the last literally like 5 years that I've known you, just continuously climb in the industry. And like, you have such a relationship with your clients. And that like, I've noticed where it's like, yeah, word of mouth referrals, because everyone I've worked with you several times and everyone enjoys being around you. And so it's just so cool to see you grow. And I would kind of love to touch on like now, obviously, like today we're going to talk about the importance of working multiple niches. What are you currently surveying? Like, are you currently just working in the wedding industry? Are you doing other things like families, brands? Would love to know kind of like, how do you describe your ideal client in the niches that you're working in?
Yeah, of course, we can talk about that. So currently I do weddings, of course, and then I also do branding, family and maternity. Um, my passion is like, it's hard, okay? Because we love every little thing that we do. We love all these niches, the weddings, the branding, the couples, the family. Like I love them all. And it's really hard to like pin down like one niche, just one, that's impossible because every niche is so different and they all bring their own like challenges and opportunities. And with branding, I really love doing branding because not only am I meeting other entrepreneurs, I'm really learning about their business and them as individuals. And we're so used to seeing like the old school headshots for a lot of these businesses. And I feel like with branding nowadays, it's just so much more than that. It's like your personality and what you bring to the business and what makes you stand out where there's so many other people doing the same thing that you're doing, but what makes you stand out. So with branding, I like to really dive into their business and really know more about what they do and how they are different so we can bring that individuality into their branding shoot. So that's been really fun. And then, of course, with branding, I feel like every few months I'll go back to a business and update their photos. So it's like that long-term relationship that you build with these clients. And then obviously these clients have other clients or friends that are like, oh, I need branding shoots too. And then not only are you working with one business, you're working with multiple different businesses. So you're just building that long-term gain in a sense. And then with family, it's really special because lots of my wedding couples, few years down the line, they get pregnant. So getting to shoot that chapter with them is really fun because you've really been there since day one. Like their couples, their wedding, their pregnancy, and then their family that will most of the time keeps growing if that's what they want. So just being along that journey and like meeting all their kids and all their kids are like, Auntie Annalie is taking my photos, yay. Like they already know me and it just feels like it just feels natural. Like I already know them, they know me. And every year just seeing them grow is like so it's like the best thing because I love kids and it's so fun seeing that journey from my clients. So my ideal client or someone who really appreciate, the creativity that goes into my photography, whether it's wedding or branding. They really value the importance of capturing genuine feelings and moments, like emotions during that moment. And for branding, I really like when my clients are down to try new things, collaborate new ideas, and making sure their photos are fresh and new.
I love it. I love it. Well, no, like even just like listening to you talk about like your couples and who you work with and families and branding, like it speaks volumes how much relationships play into it. Like it's not just
Yeah.
like, oh, I only want to shoot with couples and no kids. It's like, no, you have this relationship with them. So like the more that they grow their families, like you want to continue that. And I also think like that's what's so crazy when people are like, no, you have to niche down. If you do weddings, you can't shoot families also. Where it's like, I remember the first time one of the couples that I did a wedding for, like one of my first bride and grooms decided that they were going to, grow their family, had a kid and whatnot. And they asked me to shoot them. And I was like, oh my God, this is like the first, like almost returning client. And it's just
Yeah.
so cool to like have that feeling and get to keep working with them and like,
Mhm.
be able to be in multiple stages of life and not be like, oh, sorry, like I only shoot weddings. I can't do it. But like also realizing that like as photographers, as our seasons change, we also are more apt and more motivated and inspired by certain types of shoots. Like I remember my first several years, I did not shoot any families, and it's just because kids were like, just didn't know what to do with them. Now,
Yeah.
I have like so many like nieces, nephews, growing family where I'm like, no, I totally like understand how to, interact with kids and, get those shots that, families want, and the importance of them growing up and just being able to document that, where it's like, now I have seen a shift where I'm like kind of going in more into families and newborns and stuff, because that's something that's so like prevalent in my life. But it's just so cool to like hear that you do it all, but also like that there's so many different reasons for it. And it's not because, oh, well, I had to pick one, or like, oh, I couldn't pick. It was like, it's genuinely because you have such a like a drive and passion for those different types of shoots and relationships with your couples.
Does your current client delivery system feel unexciting, limiting, and boring? Maybe you're still using good old Google Drive or Dropbox to deliver your clients' wedding films. If the answer to these is yes, it's time to level up your video delivery experience with VidFlow. VidFlow is a pay-per-use online platform that allows you to deliver fully branded websites for each of your clients. While being incredibly affordable, VidFlow is accessible on mobile, desktop, and smart TVs with included long-term hosting so that your clients can truly enjoy the entire experience when receiving their wedding films. When I first found VidFlow, it was such an easy switch that truly benefited my business substantially. With so many incredible features and options for customization and personalization, VidFlow continues to wow my clients time and time again. You can find VidFlow on Instagram or visit their website at vidflow.co. Use our code WGY20 for 20% off a yearly premium membership and level up your client experience today with VidFlow.
I'm curious from like your perspective, why do you think it's important to work multiple niches and not just one? Like for your experience and what you've gone through and everything, what is like your biggest, I guess, like reason for having those multiple niches instead of one?
I think for me, I think the first like year or two when I was just doing weddings, I was getting burnt out like all the time. You get busy with weddings and couples and you're editing, all that stuff. You get really burnt out, especially during the busy season. And I feel like by adding different niches into your portfolio, you're not going to get burnt out as much because you're doing different things, and different things gets you inspired and motivated in different ways. That was my one thing. And just, I feel like bringing in different niches kept my work fresh and innovative in a sense. So, just having new things to showcase on my work. I feel like one huge benefit when it comes to working in multiple niches is that it allows me to reach a wider audience. In a sense, like I attract different people, different clients, and ultimately it helps me build a successful and sustainable photography business because I feel like, especially in Oregon, weddings only happen really in the summer and fall time. So what are you doing
Right.
during the slow time, right? There's so much time to do something, but there's not a lot of weddings during these times. So with families and branding, I feel like that's when it really happens is during the slower season. So that helps me, stay uplifted during the slow time.
Yeah.
And I just feel like having multiple niches or working multiple niches is nice because I want people to feel like I'm a one-stop like photographer. Like they can come for me for weddings, they can come for me for branding, business, whatever it is that they want, I can totally do it because I've done it all in a sense.
Yeah, and they really get to like be a part, like you get to be a part of every step of their life, you know? And I think like that is so cool, especially coming from like a photographer where you're like, the relationship with my clients is so important. And so the fact that you're able to see them get married, see them have their first baby, take their family portraits, help them in their business, like it's so cool to really get to build that relationship with them. And again, like when you're working in multiple different niches, you are hitting a wider audience, right? And like you are expanding yourself into being able to get multiple people and then their friends of friends or their family or their local business that they own. And like it's just cool seeing like how effectively you can market that. And like with that, I would love to know, being that you don't just shoot weddings, how do you necessarily market multiple niches like effectively on your social media? Because I know for like a lot of people, they're like, okay, well, like I just need to showcase weddings, but then like, how do I like throw in family here? Like, I don't want to make it confusing. So like, how would you effectively market those multiple niches?
Yeah, of course. So this is funny because, you hear a lot of time that when you offer multiple niches to make separate accounts for everything, I might be the only one that doesn't do that because having way more than one social media account is a lot to handle, right? I can barely
Yeah.
handle my own. Let's be real here. So I can barely keep up with my like one Instagram account. So for me, it's just, strategically sprinkling in all different sorts of niches into my grid, to my feed, so that like everyone that follows me can know that I do multiple things. Because realistically, not in a consumer standpoint, you don't want to follow a bunch of different accounts, right? It's just confusing. I feel like, to me, I feel like having one account that showcase all your work is good. And obviously with highlights, you can make different tabs for everything, like branding, weddings, family, and showcase all your favorite photos in those highlights. So that's one. And then I feel like showcasing my clients' reviews on my stories that is not only just weddings, but like brandings and family. And people can always go back and look at that as well. That's a good one. And then outsourcing. Like, I'm all for outsourcing. There are certain things in your business that I just can't do. And one thing is like Pinterest and blogging. Those are things that I just cannot do. And I try, but it's just like a foreign language where I'm like, what does this mean? What is SEO? Like, what is all of this stuff? Right. So the
Yeah.
last few years, I've been hiring a VA or someone who can really do those stuff for me. And that has helped me too, especially with weddings, because that's a lot that goes into weddings, and with Google, you want your stuff to be relatable and like good. So having a Pinterest and blogger do that for me has been really helpful because it's a slow gain in a sense. Like, it takes a long time, but when it does come in, it's amazing with the Pinterest and all that stuff.
I love that. Well, I love it too because if you guys do not already follow Annalie, please get on Instagram right now. Check out her feed. Like, you really are able to showcase everything so aesthetically. And I think
Yeah.
that's what a lot of people,
Yes.
I feel like, struggle with is like, it almost like a lot of people, it looks like it doesn't go together when they're like just throwing in a family photo and then throwing in a dress photo, throwing in like, it looks almost like they're trying to put it together, but yours just looks
Yeah.
so aesthetic. Like, your branding work with like photographers, videographers and stuff mixed in with weddings, mixed in with family, like it all looks so cohesive. And like, I wish you could just teach a masterclass on that because it really
Oh
makes it
no.
so much easier than having to like juggle a million accounts. Like, when you're like, oh no, it's like hard enough to do one. I'm like, we all feel that. And so like, I just
Absolutely.
absolutely love just like how aesthetic it all looks.
I
Thank
so
you.
agree with that because I'm like, I think it honestly at the end of the day comes down to like what the aesthetic is and like how cohesive your brand is. If your family portraits are looking like a completely different style than your wedding portraits, like regardless of what it is, like if I'm clicking on someone's Instagram and I like can feel their entire brand like cohesively come together and the style all aligns, it doesn't really matter exactly what I'm looking at, right? Like I'm going to be drawn to different things, whether it's like family portraits or like brand photos or wedding photos, but like what makes the difference, like you both said, is literally your brand aesthetic. And like you can so transparently see that on your page. And I 100% agree. Like that is like a really like key determining factor in like effectively marketing multiple different niches.
Thank you so much, you guys. It's been fun. Like, I feel like with branding specifically, I've been including like little BTS clips of all my brand shoots, right? And then just having that is like something I can use for content for my business. Just making
Mhm.
little reels because reels all the hype now, like making little reels for each individual brand. And it also makes the client feel special because they have these clips
Yeah.
of themselves that they can use for their business, but I also can use for my business. So I feel like it's a win-win situation because in today's society, I feel like we want everyone to grow and we want everyone to uplift each other. And I just feel like as like a self-employed entrepreneur, like I just really want that for everyone that I work with, especially, and obviously their peers. So it's been really fun transitioning into like branding and like weddings. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I'm like, that just speaks volumes to your like client experience too, and just how comfortable people feel and how like what kind of experience you're giving to them, regardless of what shoot it is. I just think that is amazing. We are like literally your biggest fangirls over here.
Yes.
And we really, really want to make sure that our audience can find you and follow along. So before we close the episode, we'd love to get your Instagram handle again, website, wherever our audience is able to reach you, find you, follow along with your incredible work.
Oh, thank you. So you guys can follow me at Annaly Photo, ANALY Photo. All my Instagram website is there as well. But yeah, everything's there in one place to make it easy.
I love it. We are here for it. Thank you again so much for making time to jump on the podcast today. We have seriously enjoyed getting to just like pick your brain about it and really just see. I think it's so refreshing to see someone like really successfully run a business with multiple niches, especially for people listening where that is their goal and they want to be able to like branch out into multiple niches. Like, again, cannot say enough. Go follow Annaly. She's a great example. It's so refreshing. So thank you so, so much for joining us on the podcast. And for all of you guys listening, we will see you guys next week. Thanks for listening to another episode of the We Got You podcast. We would absolutely love it if you could take an extra minute to leave us a review and let us know what you think. DM us a screenshot of it and we'll send you a coffee on us. If you want access to an exclusive community, rad freebies, giveaways, and wedding referrals, then join our Facebook group today. Also, if you aren't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel and make sure that you're following along on Instagram at WeGotYou_podcast to stay up to date. We'll see you next week on the We Got You podcast.